Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Genesis Mindset. In today's episode, 1 cent pDAI by March, according to BFF. What do you guys think? It's not that far away. It's about a 3 to 4x from the current prices. It's very, very achievable. So 1 cent pDAI by March. We got also updates on BFF. We're getting extremely close to the 8K target. So things are really moving in the whole Atropa ecosystem. We're almost breaking all-time high with Atropa as well, as I showed in yesterday's video. We're getting there. We got the $40 target, so things are really moving. Things are looking bullish across the board. There's just greens, greens, greens everywhere. And there's been quite a few pullbacks today in the Atropa ecosystem as well. So if you're looking at wanting to get into it, then now is an exceptionally good time to get into it. So with that, let's also get into the episode. So first, just taking a look at the pDAI chart. So this is in the US dollar value. So as we saw yesterday, it broke all-time high. So this is phenomenal. So pDAI by the dollar broke all-time high. So I was talking about it in my video that it could break all-time high. And basically while I was uploading it, it did break all-time high. So there we go. So absolutely awesome movements in the ecosystem. Now it's had a pullback below the all-time high. And Maria was talking about 3 cents. 3 cents by March. So by the end of I've got it shown to the end of March here. So 260%. So that's about, what's a 3.5x, essentially 3.5 to 4x. And then still 346x to the $1 peg. So it's looking pretty damn good. And again, if you compare this to PLS, it's still looking really, really good. So yes, we have had a big run off the bottom here. So we've had, well, basically a 4x off the bottom here. So it's a nice big run, but we're in a consolidation area right here. So this whole region, if it starts to break through this, then, if it starts to break through this level, then we can really say that it's more than likely looking like it could head to all-time highs. But we don't really know if it's going to do that with Pulse Chain. Pulse Chain has to really cool off and settle down. So it's really going to depend. I mean, if you look at what happened with Teddy Bear went for a huge run after the Moon King shielded it on Crypto Banter, and it's kind of cooled off since then. So a lot of attention has been going elsewhere. But if you have positions in those, like I've got some positions in those, and I'm still extremely happy with those positions, and I'm still holding those positions. So again, I've put in a lot of liquidity, well, in accordance with what my bag sizes are, because I'm really interested in becoming a part of this ecosystem and actually helping it grow and helping it achieve the goals that it wants to achieve. And in order to do that, it's about working together. So I think I've also been re-looking at some of my liquidity pools. I don't know what you guys are doing with your liquidity pools, but I've been reassessing some of those positions and just seeing, are these actually good liquidity pools? And it's just these little tests that I've been running over the last few months. This is pretty much the first time that I was doing it. I got all the alpha from Sunny's pub from all the lads in there. Mostly a lot of it from Sunny, and then other guys were dripping me. Almighty Hexagon, for example, was giving me quite a lot of alpha as well. So thanks a lot to you gentlemen there. And basically, it's really been an excellent test, because by looking at the way that the different pools are moving and then the charts in hindsight, it's really telling for what is going to be much better liquidity pools moving forward. So some of them I'm going to keep because it's supporting the ecosystem. Some of them I'm probably going to pull because they're not actually very good. So I've got a lot of pDAI ones, or a few pDAI ones and PUSDT ones, which are not so good. But I probably won't be doing it until this run in pDAI and PUSDT cool off, because there's likely going to be some kind of a pullback. When we get that pullback, then I'm probably going to pull some of that liquidity, because it's just not really worth keeping it in there at this particular point in time. So, but then again, it does end up working out. If it does go all the way up, pulls back down to my entry point, and I'm generating fees all the way up there. And if it comes back to my entry point where I actually created the liquidity pool, then it's a big win. So some of it that was my thinking around it as well, but some of it was really just for the sake of creating one at that particular time. So okay, again, just like Teddy Bear. So the reason why I mentioned Teddy Bear was because of the Moon King. So this is one of the reasons I created a video on Teddy Bear, talking about why I think Teddy Bear is going to be the premier meme coin on Pulse Chain. And I still think it can. I still think it can. But I mean, it's going to be something within the 414 ecosystem, even if it's not teddy bear. But I'm putting my money on teddy bear simply because the Moon King is shilling it hard. And this is another reason why pDAI for me is just, it just becomes more and more and more realistic to me that this can happen. I mean, if these guys keep shilling it, I'm watching Somi talking about it now. His videos start, getting thousands of views. So the reality of this situation coming to fruition is it's going to be interesting because even the people that I talk to about it, my friends, they're still very much like, they're just holding on to their pulse chain and they want to just keep accumulating pulse chain. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was also speaking to another friend, Muddy, who got me into this ecosystem, and he was basically saying with like 1/50th of his position in pulse chain and the amount that he's put into his pulse chain, he's basically tripled his entire pulse chain stack with just 1/50th of his overall bag size by putting it into the Atropa ecosystem. So this is how you get the leverage. So he was the one that got me into it. He was down the rabbit holes long before I was, and I was really fading him at the time. So there you go. That's my own fault. So okay, now BFF. Got to play this little video, this classic.
Stay on target. Almost there.
Oh, I've got to do that again because that was terrible.
Stay on target. Almost there.
Watched that like 1,000 times. When I was a kid, whenever I'd go to my grandma's house, we would always bring the Star Wars videos that we taped. So, okay, almost there. We're almost there. So our target is 8K. So we've had this pullback. We had this little pullback. So any last minute buys, now we're heading for this 8K. So what is the community going to do? What is Maria going to tell the community to do? How are we going to start acting? So obviously when we got to this 8K, there was immediate selling. And it was actually really positive to see that the selling wasn't so vicious. It only, it pulled back. It's in the scheme of things, it was like a 35% dip, but it wasn't that vicious. So we're slowly climbing our way up to this 8K target. So keep your eyes on what's going to happen with BFF, because bestie freedom fighters, we're going to start taking some kind of action with bestie freedom fighters once we get to this. So that obviously there's a lot of talk about creating liquidity pools and making this the new bottom. And then Zach was talking about 100K. I've seen 40K. I've even seen a million. And again, if you look at this in the context of, say, teddy bear, or what teddy bear's done. Okay, yes, from the very bottom, it's already some like extremely phenomenal gains. I know a lot of lads who basically got in. Oh man, kudos to those guys. Guys who got in at these levels, kudos to those guys. Those guys are basically sitting on, they're sitting on 1,000x. So well done to those guys who are buying anyway. That conviction, well done. So congratulations to those guys. They're looking extremely healthy. And I want to go back to the drugs here. So I want to just have a look at what's actually going on here. It has been a few days since I've been looking at it, but I haven't been talking about it. So I want to just go back to the drugs and just see what kind of movements we're seeing. So a little bit of up and down, and then kind of just down momentum. So really pulse chain and no nukes is, well, really strong against leprosy, to be honest. So we're seeing more or less the same thing in speed, Rohypnol, and cocaine. So I'm just putting them to WPLS. So could this be a bottom? Could we see a move up? I'm not too sure. I don't know. Speed and Rohypnol are pretty much doing the same thing, and cocaine is slightly different. So this is quite interesting. So again, I'm just continuing to monitor these, and I do know with cocaine, there's lots of different liquidity pools. So I wonder if that therefore is making the price respond in a different way. So again, if we look at these tokens now against their natives, so this is going to be speed against Rohypnol. So this was the first liquidity pools that were created between these tokens. They were all made around about the same time. So as we can see here, interestingly, there's a big pullback in 20% pullback of speed compared to leprosy. And the page crashed. Interesting. I've never seen that before. Okay, so also cocaine, same thing. Cocaine to leprosy. Leprosy is the stronger of the two. And I believe we're going to see exactly the same, but I don't know if there's going to be a pullback on this one or not, in the same way that we see the pullback with speed. So I haven't actually looked at this. Okay, interesting. So there was this wild move, and I did notice that this wild move, so this was the 24th. So when I was looking at some of these liquidity pools, so now the liquidity pools are starting to get more spread out. So I think as those liquidity pools were spreading out, that's when we started to see some of these moves. So I know with Rehypnol, for example, okay, so I'm just going to let them load. So I know with Rehypnol, for example, I actually took a look at this earlier. I won't go through all of it now but basically, obviously you have the majority still, so over 61% is with leprosy, and these other pools. So this is actually, let's just take a quick look. So I do know that these two pools, I believe one of them is going to be WPLS. So we'll just quickly open these up. We'll look at one because Rehypnol and speed are essentially more or less the same. So speed, same kind of setup. So 64% is still in the liquidity pool with leprosy. And then you have these unique little pools that are being created there. So let's have a look at what was happening here with these pools. So we'll get them to load up. Go to the tokens. Let's just go one at a time. So this is like I don't know if this is Bell or like another no-name kind of token, because I think there's a few in the Atropa ecosystem. So, okay, here we go. One of them was Rat Pulse. One of them was cocaine, so then bonding it with cocaine. There's the leprosy one. Oh. What? That doesn't make any sense. How? Unless one is V1 and one is V2. So, okay, so here's some, how would I find that out? I'm not too sure how I would find that out, whether it's V1 or V2. But there you go. So something different is starting to happen there as well. And also with speed. So it's being bonded up with the other two drugs. And this one is, cocaine has been the different one. So it's been split into thirds. So, well, it's more or less been split into thirds, and the rest has been bought up. And this is probably with Pulse Chain. So different kinds of price movements, still trying to work this out. Still, yeah, I'm really open to any conversation with anyone who knows this kind of stuff. I feel kind of bad badgering Sunny and the gents in Sunny's pub, and just typing is really difficult for me to kind of like decipher. I really need to have those conversations and see things with my eyes rather than just seeing words. I find it very difficult to kind of like process that into some sort of like logical thing for my brain to understand. So everybody learns differently. That's just how I learn. Just reading is very difficult. So anyway, everything is looking good. Everything is looking good in the Atropa ecosystem. So I'm feeling very confident. I'm feeling like this is a pullback. I don't feel like we've topped out yet. I could be wrong. It does look like Atropa's pulling back, and it looks like it's a good entry point if you're looking to get into some Atropa, if you're looking to get into pDAI. I mean, pDAI, basically, we're looking at 3.5x to an all-time high, to a predicted all-time high. So, we haven't started February yet, so we're about a month away. So things are looking really, really good in the Atropa ecosystem. If we can, I mean, that was Maria's prediction, 1 cent by March. That means we're going to keep pumping for another month. So what else is going to happen in the Atropa ecosystem? You want to look for these opportunities with low liquidity. You want to get into tokens that are being spoken about, tokens that are going to be important in the ecosystem. And you want to actually look to be someone who is actually going to be a participant in the ecosystem, not to just extract from it. We want to actually participate in it. That's my goal. I've been putting my pulse chain into it. I want to start taking my pulse chain out of it and then keeping the majority of a position in the Atropa ecosystem, but then getting back my initial. And then eventually, once we have this big run up, well, what I'm hoping is a continued run up for another month or two in the Atropa ecosystem, we're going to have a pullback. So we're probably going to see, again, 70, 80, 90% pullbacks. And then again, with that pulse chain, I'll be reloading up. So each time I want to load up again at the 80 to 90% this time around. And then I want to start taking it out as it's getting to the top. And each time I'm growing my position size in the Atropa ecosystem and becoming like a builder in the ecosystem and really becoming a custodian of the ecosystem. That's what I'm interested in. Then I want to start using that for liquidity pools and start following what the rest of the community is doing, because gosh, it's fun. It's fun building this thing. It's fun seeing how Maria is cooking, what she's cooking, what is actually happening. If we can get to the pDAI, if we can get to the P stables, it's the most exciting place to be in the Pulse Chain ecosystem, in my opinion. And I'm seeing now as well, Hotonomics has started streaming about it. CoachX has started streaming. Moon King is obviously continuing to talk about it with Ian, the Crypto Kings. So people are really starting to talk about it again on YouTube. Twitter's starting to light up. The community's starting to light up. Somi's starting to talk about it. So he's been talking about it consecutively for the last few days, which means he's probably getting the attention that he's probably getting the metrics on his YouTube to show that people are wanting to hear about this. And I'm also seeing that as well. My pDAI video is outperforming all the other videos. So pDAI has such a strong community and such a strong like narrative. It's such a strong narrative. Our own unique stablecoin, 1 cent by March. If we get, so we just keep taking it one step at a time, just like Maria does, 1 step at a time, 1 day at a time. And can we get there? Will we get there? Who knows? The market cap is going to be huge. But again, just like Hex, the market cap doesn't really mean anything. Yes, it means something. But because of all the liquidity that it's connected to, it's not as significant as people think, especially if there's all these interconnected pools of like similar kinds of market caps as Hex, which are basically feeding into Atropa to feed into that $40 Atropa. It doesn't sound that unrealistic, but again, I haven't done the maths. So I'm just excited. I'm just loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving being part of this community. I'm loving communicating with everyone every day. I'm loving what it's teaching me as well about myself and the way that it's making me reflect on my own self and really trying very hard not to get caught up in all of this as well. I haven't really experienced, I mean, yeah, these kinds of pumps and these kinds of moves, and it's really something different. It's different to any other kinds of cryptos. So really trying to keep myself centered and keep my mind focused and stay on the task and really keep running my meditation center. So it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be alive. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you continue to enjoy the Atropa ecosystem.